What's up, everyone? I'm Dahadi Lewis. I lead our church planting efforts at the North American Mission Board for Sin Network. I'm also a pastor and planter myself at Blueprint Church here in Atlanta, Georgia. Whether you're a church planter with a brand new congregation with limited resources, or pastoring a small to medium-sized church, I know we're all looking for ways to stay connected, love one another, and bring the word to our church members in creative ways. We need to remember technology is just a tool in all of this, but it can be a fantastic tool. So we've asked Phil Thompson, who's a church planting resident at a Sin Network church, the church at Cherrydale in Greenville, South Carolina, to give us some very practical tips for guys like you and me who rather not think about technology, but might want to live stream our sermon this Sunday. Phil has led video production and live streaming for national Christian events and helps out at his local church as well. So we're glad to have his expertise. Phil, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to equip so many pastors on this call today.
Thanks to Hadi, and thanks to the awesome Sin Network staff and their ability to pull together this live stream event. I mean, we've got over 1,000 people here today, and they pulled this off in under 48 hours. It's absolutely incredible, and it's been a joy getting to know Scott and Stephen with Sin Network staff and their heart to serve pastors and to care during this time that's very unprecedented for all of us, and their desire to put this together on such short notice just demonstrates their concern and the seriousness with which they take their work. I wanted to at least introduce what we're going to accomplish today with at least setting out the purpose very clearly. The purpose with a webinar like this is mainly to help you develop some confidence in live streaming. We're not going to be able to answer every single question or turn everyone into gurus on live streaming, but we should be able to help you at least approach the work of live streaming on a Sunday basis with some level of confidence so that you're not distracted when you're trying to present the Word of God. I'm going to assume in this webinar that you probably have never done a live stream before or have had only a few opportunities to do that. I'm also going to assume that you don't have a huge budget to work with. The normative Baptist church or other denominational churches in the US don't have huge budgets to buy new equipment and to hire lots of staff members. So that's the bar that I'm aiming at. And so that may help set your expectations accordingly. The method that I'm going to use in walking through this webinar is just simply demonstrating how to do it. We're going to walk through step by step what it looks like to go live, what your expectations should be. And throughout, I'm going to throw in some little tips, pro tips on best practices and things like that. We will have time at the end of the webinar to answer some questions. Hopefully, if everything goes well, use the Q&A or the questions module in your GoToWebinar pane, and you can go in there, add some questions, and as time allows, we'll try to get to some of those, especially ones that I see repeated frequently. So feel free to jump in on that, and I probably won't stop much as I go through the how-to section, but if there's some clear things that are missing or some things that I could have been more clear about, we'll circle back to that at that point. And just personally, from my vantage point, I understand the challenges you're facing right now as you're having to think through live streaming. A lot of you weren't thinking about this a month ago. I know even our church wasn't actively doing much with live streaming before then. But because of the situation we find ourselves in, we're having to take some steps that we wouldn't have expected doing. So I understand the spot that you're in, and from working alongside our pastors and trying to provide counsel and assistance to other pastors, I'm in here with you all, and I want to serve and do what I can to help you guys with the challenge. And as part of trying to understand you and the challenges you're facing, I have a number of questions I wanted to ask you all via poll. And so we're going to throw these out, these poll questions out. First of all, just trying to get a gauge of who's in the room. So which of the following best describes your role at church? So this quick poll, just pastors, another church staff member, audiovisual team member, or some other church volunteer. If you can select that and give me a sense, because that helps me gauge whether we're dealing with people who have a lot of work that they're doing in this. They're probably a little bit more experienced with the tech, or more people who are making decisions, the pastors, staff members, the people who are may actually be doing some of the things, or if you're a pastor and you're having to do it. Been capturing video at all, if you've been distributing via DVD, distributing online, post event, so recording, and then maybe the same day or later in the week, distributing online or live streaming. And then the next question has to do with kind of your plans for the next couple weeks. Just trying to understand if you plan to begin by distributing DVD or some other physical means. If your plan is to go all out with live streaming, Facebook Live, YouTube, so on, or if you already have a stream that you're doing on a weekly basis and you're just looking for maybe some tips on how to improve what you're doing or change up your standard practice a little bit, or if, again, you're just planning to record it in some means, maybe a camera, webcam, whatever, save it, and then upload it to Facebook, YouTube, what have you, distribute online later. The next polling question I have for you is related to the webinar itself. I want to understand a little bit about what you hope to get out of a webinar like this. So for some of you, the baseline might just be like, I need a basic understanding of live streaming, something that keeps me from doing something that makes me look like an idiot. I just got to get the basics. Some of you may say, I get the basics, I've done it a couple times, I'm here for basically the pro tips, things like that. Others of you might be here more for the equipment options. If I'm tossing out links or things like that you might purchase, if you find that helpful, that kind of informs me. And then ideas for a good-looking background. Yeah, that's another good one. Then last but not least, and very important, I think, for most of us in the room, relates to the issue of budget. I'm going to throw out some equipment ideas, but this kind of gives me a gauge of where you're coming out with budget: 0 to 100, 100 to 5, 5 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,000. This thinking about over the next few weeks, next month, as you're trying to cope with the situation, you're trying to think about live streaming. What is your plan in terms of finances to be able to do it? I understand a lot of you are probably going to skew to the lower end of that scale, and that's fine. I'm going to have a lot of tips and helps for you, but there may be some in the room that skew toward the middle or toward the top, and that's helpful to know at least. So those are our polling questions, and if you can continue filling those out, and hopefully I'll be able to see the results of those soon enough and be able to start kind of gauging off of that. All right, yeah, it looks like 71% of you are pastors, 15 church staff, and then much lower percentages, 9 and 6% audiovisual team member, church volunteer. So plan for the next couple weeks. Majority of you want to begin live streaming. 12% improve, 12% record and distribute online. Excellent. Excellent. And then basic intro to live streaming. Good. That helps because that's the slide deck I've prepared. So that should be wonderful. We will drop in some advanced tips and tricks. We will drop in some equipment options. Excellent. And a good looking background. We'll do our best. You can always get pallets and stack them. That's the go-to church method. Am I right? How much to spend? Okay, it looks like the majority of you are in the 0 to 500 range. Majority of that in the 100 to 500. Okay. Very, very helpful. Thanks for filling that out. That just kind of sets my expectations and knowing how to serve you all best. And I hope gives you all some confidence. You're in the same room with a lot of people who are dealing with the same things that you are, a lot of whom share the same goals, and trying to work through this together. I did want to talk very briefly about setting our goals properly for live streaming. I like what Dhati said, pointing out that technology is just the tool. It's a means to an end. It's not the end. And I think I've seen a lot of really great discussion online about this whole live streaming thing, that there's a desire not to replace the gathered church. There is going to be some sense of longing, some sense of desire that there should be something more than just a live stream video to church. And I hope your people are feeling that. I imagine they're going to be feeling that, as quite likely it looks like we may be impacted through Easter, the inability to share the Lord's Supper together, and things like that should be jarring during this time. So what we're not going to do is be able to replace that, or in any way think that we can replace that. We're also not going to be able to be the most impressive live stream imaginable. I think if you go into this saying, I'm just going to blow everybody away, I'm going to be the best church in town on this, or the biggest name on the internet, like just setting that goal aside, because you're going to be hopelessly let down. Every time is going to be frustrating for you. But I would encourage you, as you have this, set the right goals, is to think about, am I communicating the Word of God with clarity and without distraction? And so that's the hope in everything that I'm going to present today, is to just give you a simple means through various methods communicate the word of God clearly and without causing unnecessary distraction to those who are trying to watch and trying to apply the word of God to their lives. You're providing them a resource. And I think about it this way. We often look at these sorts of things and say, we are, what a rare circumstance this is to be in this position where I'm trying to communicate the word of God to people who I can't physically be with, and I have to use some form of technology to do that. And I want us to kind of set that assumption aside for a moment and just think about, I think about the Apostle Paul. So he's using papyrus, which is technology of the time, the weaving of these plants together. He's using ink, which is another technology of his time, to put words on the page. And he's sending that to different congregations around the known world of the time and providing them with the word of God, and applying the word of God to their precise circumstances, even though he couldn't be there presently. And he mentions that a lot in his letters, and he wants his spirit to be there with them. And so in a very similar way, without maybe inspiration of the Holy Spirit, we are using the technology of our day to communicate God's word to the people that he has put under our care. So if that's our goal, I think that informs a lot of the decisions, or helps cut back on the frustration when you do something and you just say, boy, that was a letdown. That's okay. It's okay. Because the goal is to communicate the word. So with no further ado, I'll jump right into how to live stream from a mobile phone. This is the easiest method. This is the thing that probably in the US with the ubiquitous smartphones, anybody can do right now without any barriers to access. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to grab my pointer here. And just working from left to right, I just have screen grabs from my phone. And you're going to see, so you want to hit the menu button in your smartphone app. And this is granted from an Android. So some of you on iOS will see it a little differently, but by and large, it's going to be the same. You drop into that menu and that moves you to this page. Some of you may have, if you only have one page you're managing, it's going to be right there. But if you have multiple, sometimes it compiles them. So you may have to hit this pages button and then select the page that you want to go live from. Then once you're on that page settings, you can hit the go live button. From there, that brings you to this page. On that page, you have the ability to add the description to the video. You want to be very descriptive and explain exactly what's going to be contained in the video. Lead with something that's interesting, or something that's going to draw some attention. And so if you have a sermon title that's catchy or something like that, try to lead with that, get that out there. And then you really can't on your page control the privacy of it. Whenever it goes out via a mobile phone, via a Facebook page, not your own personal account, but a Facebook page, the video is going to be public from the second it goes out. So just bear that in mind. You can control the camera, whether it faces yourself or faces shooting from the back camera, flash, and some other settings. You probably don't want to use these unless you want to look a little crazy. And once you're all set, ready to go, go ahead and hit start live video. Now, that's probably going to be a little daunting for some of you, and you're going to say, like, I don't feel comfortable going public with my first live video out of the gate. Like, it's a little intimidating. I don't know what it's going to look like, or I want to be able to press the buttons through the process. Is there a safe way to do this that keeps me out of trouble? So there is, thankfully. So if you open up your Facebook app and go and just hit the live button on your own personal Facebook profile, it'll bring up something that looks very similar to what we just saw. And what I want you to do is get this privacy setting to only me. And to do that, you just tap the drop down. It'll put you on a page that looks like this. And you can select all sorts of settings. I can even broadcast to friends except my wife. How about that? But in this case, I want to do just only me. So this creates a private stream that only I can see, that only I will be able to access on my Facebook timeline. So this kind of pulls away the urgency of it, the risk of I'm going to mess this up. No one's going to see it except Mark Zuckerberg. And so from here, you'll be able to see two screens. One is what you're going to see during the Facebook Live. So you'll see that you are live, and that'll stay up there unless you lose signal or something like that. You'll know that you're no longer live. Comments from people who are coming on and writing something will appear on the screen, and they basically will rise up and kind of disappear as they go along. You'll see reactions kind of pop up around from the bottom of the screen as people react with likes and things like that. So you'll be able to see some of those interactions throughout. You probably don't want to mess with this guy. This is that it'll change your face into different things. You can change your front or back camera flash. This is a cool feature right here down at the bottom. It allows you to invite other people to come watch. So this is helpful if you're a pastor and you want to make sure as many people as possible are on that live stream. Open up, welcome, and then hop in there and just you'll basically get a list of recommended friends. And you can just jump in there and tap the buttons to invite some of those people in if they aren't watching already. You'll be able to make comments while you're doing this, and you can even tweak your description with this little tool. When you're done with the live stream, just hit finish, and it'll put you on this screen. And you can again control the privacy on it. So if you were really happy with that live stream and just wanted to put it out as a recorded video, just a standard video on Facebook, you can toggle that to public and share it, and you'll be all set. You can save it to your device and download it or delete it. And if you're just doing a test video, delete works just fine. Real quick, best practices on particularly with mobile, but some of the supplies elsewhere. Think about the angle of the camera. As you can tell, I have my camera just slightly above me, shooting down. You don't want the camera below you shooting up. That tends to be very unflattering. If you have a live audience, so if you have a small audience of people, maybe a small group or something that's gathered, if you've chosen to do that and you want to stream, I would recommend setting the camera maybe a little bit to the side. But if you're actually just streaming directly to a live online only audience, I would recommend just putting the camera straight in front of you and speaking directly into the camera, because that is your audience. And so you want to engage the people you're speaking to directly rather than indirectly. Thinking about picture, so most cameras, most phones, the cameras on the back of the camera are going to be the stronger, better camera than the front camera. So you can hold your device up and stream using the front camera on yourself, but it's not going to be as good of a picture if you can then instead transition to using the back camera. What the challenge is with that is you're probably going to need somebody else to start the camera in order to make it a little bit easier for you because you can't really see what's going on. Which brings me to the next item is stability. Get you a tripod if you can, or find something that'll work as a tripod. I have this little guy that you can pop up and it just kind of clamps onto the phone. That's one way of doing it. There's even a $30 tripod out there that is even better on Amazon. I do realize that as we're throwing out Amazon links and things like that, I've heard just in the last day that Amazon's dialing back non-essential items. So these things may be hard to get on Amazon at this point, but you might be able to get them at your local Best Buy, pharmacy, or office supply store, so on. So just something to think about there with stability. When it comes to sound, most smartphones have pretty good mics for picking up decent sound if it's close to you, not on the other side of the room. But there are some ways that you can get a fixed mic that'll feed into your phone, or a lav mic that will feed into your phone. And there are even cheaper options in like the $30 range, and some of them can range from $100 to $200 depending on what you want to do. But that is something to keep in mind. But without a mic, you can still just place the phone close to you, make sure that people can hear you well. Then in terms of light is probably the biggest failure I find with most live streams. It's very distracting, and it can be very hard to hear and understand someone when you can't see them. So even if you have a lamp that you can set up that's shining on you, don't have the light source in front of you, not behind you. So if you're backlit, you're just going to be a shadow. There are some cheap ring lights on Amazon and elsewhere that basically form a ring around your phone or above your phone and provide a lot of light and brighten up the scene a good bit. There are ways you can use a lighting package, or if your church actually has some spotlights or something like that, and you're doing this in your church facility, great, use that to your advantage. But light goes a long way to improving the picture. So as we think about the live streaming options, we've looked at using your mobile phone, and you can also use a webcam on your computer, Mac, PC, whatever you have. The big question here is the Facebook or YouTube question, and I can't really answer that for you fully. Here are some things to know, I guess, about each platform. So Facebook monetizes everything it does based on paid boosts from content creators. Who are the content creators? You are the content creator. So they want you to pay in order to reach more people. They do have some other advertisers, but that's one of the main things they do. So just keep that in mind. So they are incentivized to restrict your audience and have you pay to reach more people, okay? They also don't embed as nicely on websites as YouTube. You can embed Facebook live videos, and contrary to some assumptions, people can access Facebook live streams without having a Facebook account. So they will be able to see that. You can put that out as a link. It's just clunkier, and it's not as uniform as you're going to get with YouTube. But the reality is that most churches, and I suspect most of you who are watching today, are coming from the standpoint where you already have a Facebook page, you already have Facebook followers, and so it's just going to be a natural thing for you to do Facebook Live. And so I want to acknowledge that and say, you know, that's probably a good factor that you want to keep in mind is where you have an existing audience. But just keep in mind, just from anecdotal evidence from live streams I've done, about 1/3 of your audience is actually going to get a push notification that you're live. with a Facebook Live video. They want you to pay in order to push that to more people. YouTube tends to be a little more ubiquitous. So just keeping that in mind as something there with Facebook. With YouTube, the big hang up that I have is that you have to apply to stream video 24 hours in advance. So if you're thinking about this for Sunday, you need to go on, log into YouTube using a Google account, and then in the top right corner, you can select your little icon and create a new channel for your church. And so you'll need to set that up. It'll take a little while to activate, and then there's another step to actually go into the live option. And I'm going to show you how to get there at least. And so once you get there, it'll send you a text message to verify the account. It'll take some time, and then once it activates, you'll be able to live stream to it. So don't try to rush and do that all on Saturday. If you're thinking about it, even if it's like, hey, we want to just have that option open, go ahead and do that today so that you have that available should you want to use it down the road. The cool thing for me with YouTube is, well, back up one other caveat. YouTube does not allow live streaming from a mobile device like what we saw with Facebook, unless you have over 1,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel. So I'm assuming most of you won't have that, and so if you don't, that's kind of rules out one possible way of going live, but it still is a good option, because YouTube is incentivized to get your content to as many people as possible, because the more people it gets in front of, the more eyeballs, the more chance it creates for people to see advertisements or see other videos that have advertisements on their platform. So that's a win for most people. I see what happens is Facebook's metrics, if you look at it, the way they count a view is if somebody has viewed something for 3 seconds. The way that YouTube counts a view is if somebody has viewed it for over a minute. So the disparity you're going to see, and you may look at Facebook and say, we get way more views than we get on YouTube. And that's partly why what you want to look at for an apples to apples comparison, if you're putting video in both places, is minutes watched. That's the one playing field leveler between both platforms. You can look at that and see if you're doing better on Facebook or YouTube, make some decisions based on that. Let's look at Facebook going live from a webcam. So here, this is facebook.com/creator studio. And when you hit that with your Facebook account logged in, you'll have access to any pages that you manage. And so from there, what you want to do is hit the Go Live button. And you'll have the choice of which page you want to go live from. And you're presented with this pretty crazy looking screen once you land there. We probably will not have time to get into stream keys, other ways to stream to Facebook Live, but just know that there's this thing here that you land on that presents you with this thing that you can copy and paste into other pieces of technology that can push video to Facebook. So just know that. But don't let that screen freak you out. Go ahead and do the drop down and select camera. And when you select the camera, this is what you get, something a little bit more pleasant to deal with. You can, if you have other cameras plugged into your device, maybe a USB web camera, maybe a USB to HDMI converter that allows you to feed an HDMI stream into your computer, you can toggle that and display the camera source there. If you have a USB mic connected to your computer, you can toggle that and select that if it isn't already pre-selected. And it will give you a preview of what the video looks like down here. And so you'll be able to gain some confidence of this is what it looks like. I'm not immediately going live when I hit that button, so there's some level of safety here. Looking at the top nav up here, stream health is likely not going to be something you're going to look a lot at. Something some of you may want to play with is this polls feature. Is pretty sweet. You can go in there, create a poll, add your questions, and hit save, and you get something like this test poll that you can then, at some point in your live stream, you'll be able to toggle into this and hit publish poll, and that'll go out similar to like what we've done here in this webinar today. So that's a cool little feature. Going back to our stream settings page, back to here, let's look at the panes down below. So navigating down, you can click into the stream section there, and this is what you get. So here is the embed code. So if you want to drop that onto your website, if on your homepage of your website, this all can be done in the back end before you start your live video. So you can log into your WordPress or wherever you, however you host your site, copy that, paste that in as code on your site, and save that. And people who come to your site will be able to see the Facebook live stream. It's a little clunky. It works though, so that's a good way to get it out publicly. You can check these boxes to unpublish after the video ends, so that basically it just disappears offline. If this is a good option if you just want to make a quick announcement and you don't want anybody to access it afterwards. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but some pages or some folks may find that helpful. You can check that to go longer than 8 hours. I certainly hope you're not doing that this Sunday. I really do. In terms of viewing, there are a few options there. The ability to disable live commentary shuts off some of the watch party features. You've probably seen people randomly accidentally select that and invite you to watch parties. So this shuts off that feature. I would say leave that open, and we might mention how you can leverage that to your advantage. There's some comment features down here that may be helpful to you if your ministry tends to get bombarded by a lot of trolls or disgruntled individuals. You can set these settings to kind of slow that down, or to kind of limit the discussion to people who actually like and follow your page, and so on. You can still moderate in the call, but this is a good way to kind of filter things down if you feel the need to do that. Looking back over here on the left-hand pane, if you go all the way down to the bottom, there's a pretty nice feature that you don't get in the mobile with your page, but you do get in the browser with your if you're going live with a webcam, and you can select to publish as a test broadcast. And I would recommend anybody who's doing this for the first time, go ahead and do that sometime over the next couple of days. And just so you can see how it behaves, you can gain some confidence in clicking through, selecting the right thing. So after you've added a video title, a description of it, and of course you do have, I should mention, these audience settings kind of tie in with some of the other things that we've mentioned, but you can push into particular groups. So if you have a members group that's in addition to your page for your ministry, you can share into that group, and then go from there. The test broadcast. Okay, so let's take a look at that. When you toggle that, it'll give you this page. It'll change the button text to start test, and once you start it, it'll give you something like this. Right now I have the picture minimized. You can blow that up during the live cast. you'll get, instead of the comments kind of feeding across the screen like you get in the mobile environment, you get the comments feeding up on the side pane here. So you'll be able to like, reply to comments, enter your own comments, and I recommend starting with a comment of your own, just welcoming folks to the live stream, maybe even have that kind of text in like a Word doc or something like that that you can have copied. And so once the live stream starts, you just click in there, hit paste, and hit enter, and you have a comment out of the gate thanking people for joining, encouraging them to ask questions. I mean, that doesn't substitute you doing that in the video, but people who tune in a minute or two in, they'll see that comment, and it may jog them to go ahead and participate in whatever way that you want them to participate in. So the test broadcast at the end, when you end the broadcast, it'll drop you on a page like this, and you'll be able to view the post, and I'll show you what that looks like. Or in the case that you've done a test video that you're just playing with, you can just go ahead and delete that at this point. But if you go on to view the post, this is what you're going to end up with. You're going to have a screen that gives you some ability. Sorry, this is actually the scheduling piece, so we'll skip that. But you can go into view post, and what that does is enable you to change the look and feel of how the video goes out. If you've ever uploaded a video to Facebook, you know, you can kind of control the thumbnail image. You can tweak the text a little bit. So if you had, say, a description on the live video that said, join us this Sunday morning for such and such video, you can then go into the post itself, what is going to be permanently on your page, and say, you know, this message was preached on such and such date, you know, or however your typical descriptions go on that sermon. And so you can then change that, and that becomes the permanent item that's shown on your Facebook page. Quick tips on openings. This applies across every streaming service, but I find particularly Facebook, this is pretty powerful. The first 30 seconds of your video are the most important. They're the make it or break it moments for any video people who are tuning in, and they get, you know, you're kind of fumbling with the display, looking somewhere else, chasing something down, whatever. That becomes very distracting, and it can be, I assume, at least for your members, hopefully they're very bought in, they want to be there, they're excited about this, and so they're going to follow you regardless of what you say or do. But for somebody who's maybe attended your church on occasion, they see that you're live and say, oh, I may tune into this and just see if I should listen further to what the pastor has to say. Those first 30 seconds, you want to introduce who you are. You say your name, what you do, and then talk about the purpose of the video. So this may be, you know, thanks for joining me. I'm Phil Thompson, one of the pastors at the Church of Cherrydale, and I want you to, you know, participate in this Sunday's worship time together. We're going to be preaching through Colossians chapter 3. Whatever the context is, give them a taste of what the expectations are, and then give the audience something to do within that first 30 seconds. So I want you all to share with your friends so that other people outside the church, other members in the church, can know that we're live and be able to be a part of this service together. Tell them to comment. I want to know if my audio is good. So if you could just comment, if you're not hearing things really well, if you could just drop a comment in there so that I know to tweak something, or comment and tell us what's going on in your life. And if you're hearing me just fine, go ahead and just give me a like right now. Give me a thumbs up. And so saying some things like that in the opening quickly gets the engagement up. It does kind of help offset Facebook's tendency to kind of downplay live video, and so it sees, oh, people are engaging with this, we should probably put it to more people. So that's something that you want to do right out of the gate. So I did want to look over at YouTube as well. So this is assuming that you have created a YouTube channel. You'll be able to see a channel dashboard. This is studio.youtube.com. And this is if you upload video or have done anything like that with YouTube, this is just kind of the standard look. Nothing too special here, but what you get is in this top right hand corner, you've got this little button for the live broadcast. So if you click that, and if you have activated your live streaming, which we talked about before, you need that 24 hours in advance. So do that now, wait 24 hours, this is what you'll get to see. So you'll see the ability to add title and security restrictions around the video, which we'll look at in a second. YouTube has been very adamant about videos being made for kids or not made for kids. And so if you are streaming for a broad general audience and not just to kids, you need to put no, it's not made for kids. That's very, very important. Under the privacy settings, you get three options: public, unlisted, and private. I would recommend just out of the gate, if you want to test like you can with Facebook, go ahead and select the private view. That allows you to do it and not have to worry about what other people see. Down in the advanced section, this is where you get to control what you got with Facebook. You can change your camera that's broadcasting. So if you have a webcam or something like that, you can toggle that. You can toggle your USB mic or something else that you may want to attach for better quality. And then hit next. What happens after the next is it'll give you a little countdown, and you'll be able to say cheese for the camera. It'll snag that and make that the thumbnail of the live video. Now the cool thing is you're not set with that. It'll snap that picture, put it here, and you can actually control what happens there by if you have a graphic for your sermon series, if you have a special custom graphic that you want to create, you can upload that there and be able to make that look just a little bit better for people who stumble across it on YouTube. You can tweak your title, change your privacy, so on. And then once you're all set, go ahead and hit the go live button. Once you go live, this is what you're going to get. So just walking through what you're seeing here, you've got yes, you are live, just kind of confirming the connection, how long you've been going. That's very useful for pastors. You'll see how many people are watching, how many people have liked. You'll get a bar that shows you how good your audio signal is. You'll be able to mute, share the video, end stream. And then your comment section over here on the right, you'll see the comments kind of stacking in. You can add your own comments like I have here and enter. This is what you always have, is this channel video details, description. You can add your thumbnail, you can add subtitles, all kinds of stuff in there. You can even play the video up here. You can change the visibility. Once you're happy with it, hit save, and then that becomes kind of the permanent video on your YouTube channel. So that's YouTube. Quick comments on this. Now, I've mentioned in passing the hooking up of other audio video feeds, webcams, things like that. You can grab a Yeti USB mic. Actually, that's what I'm using right now. But they kind of vary in price. Probably around 120 bucks is going to be about standard. Something like that can really step up the audio. It gives you that extra input there that's going to give you something a little better than the audio that's coming from the mic that's built into the device. You could get a external webcam if the webcam on your device is a low video quality. You can upgrade that. One thing to keep in mind is, and this may be old, so you can check me on this. Last time I checked, Facebook only accepts feeds of 720p and lower. So again, that may have changed, but unless you're using certain devices and so on. But by and large, that means most webcams you're already broadcasting at a high enough quality that you shouldn't really have to worry about getting really high quality webcams. You're already going to be putting out on Facebook exactly what they want. YouTube can accept higher streams, 1080p or 4K or whatever, a lot better. So that's something to consider as if you think about purchases and so on. All right, so that basically wraps some of the highlights that I wanted to talk about today. I do have, I'm game for being here for another 30, 40 minutes or so to take questions. I also have some other things we can talk about. So I want to at least answer some of the questions that you guys have been putting into the questions section. So my buddy Scott is going to be helping me out with some of those here. And so let's go ahead and
Phil.
See what we've got.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. So here's some of the questions that we've been being asked. Phil, how do we make this an authentic presentation? So I can pretend to preach to an empty church, but that doesn't really feel authentic, and I think that's going to come across. What do I do?
Yeah, I think that's an important question. I think that I just was watching some streams even on Sunday, and some of them came off pretty awkward, and to some extent that's okay. I would say welcome and embrace the reality that that you may be doing this from your home. I feel like in some ways, our church is probably going to be doing a lot of stuff from our church facility, but we may end up doing some of these from the homes of various pastors. And I think either way you go, it should be fine with. In some ways, by doing it in the church, it kind of conveys some sense of familiarity. This is church like I would imagine it to be. We're in the same place. The pastor's doing what he should be doing, but there's always going to be a little bit of disjointedness. Whereas doing it in your own home, over your webcam or so on, does communicate some level of I'm in this with you. You're in your homes too. You're quarantined or whatever you're doing. I'm doing that too, and this is uncomfortable, and we're all uncomfortable together. We got kids running around and working from home and craziness. So embrace the awkwardness, and perhaps consider is this an opportunity to kind of rethink the way that I would present the word. If this medium gives more opportunity for me to respond to needs, issues, questions, how might I embrace that in what I do, rather than just kind of setting up the camera, monologuing like I always do? Maybe just thinking through what would be a healthy approach here that would be helpful to my congregation.
Great, thanks Phil. So next question that we had asked is, what do I do with multiple devices? In other words, can I mount the phone that's recording and then monitor comments and chat on another device when I'm using Facebook?
Yeah, so you can do that. So I could put up a tripod, set up my camera, maybe even have somebody else push the go live button on that, and then have have a device, have my laptop or something on the other side of the room by me, and that's where I'm monitoring the Facebook stream and looking at the comments that are coming in. And I'm over there, I can respond to stuff. I can see the questions as they come in, that kind of thing. I think a lot of pastors are probably going to be very, that can be very distracting when you are trying to present the word, think well about a topic, and then be seeing a lot of stuff popping up. If you're doing more of a monologue approach, that's going to be challenging. One way that we've done this in the past is to have somebody on the other side of the room who actually, they may have the laptop and they're doing the same thing. And what they're doing is they're copying out comments, name and what the comment is or question is, and dropping that into a Google Doc. That Google Doc is open on on another phone or tablet or whatever with the speaker. And so they can monologue for a little while and then say, hey, we're going to take a break for questions. Let's see what questions we got. And they can pop that open, and they've got the questions that are in the Google Doc, and so they can then go through those.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so next question. Obviously, some of our congregations are not going to be on Facebook. They might not even be online at all. So what can we consider with platforms like Zoom, where someone can call in and be online with the video feed at the same time?
Yeah, I think, so I know a lot of churches are looking at the Zoom option right now, and I think it's a really, really good option for certain kinds of things that you want to do. I think for a Sunday morning sermon, as is typically done, it can be a little bit awkward over the Zoom call for a few reasons. Getting at it afterwards. So if somebody misses it, you would need to anyways save the call. You can upload it to some of those other services or so on, but it adds some extra steps on your part. Zoom also kind of is built around some level of collaboration, verbal discussion, whereas Facebook and YouTube, it's text-based discussion. So people are throwing in text comments and not necessarily having to talk over each other. So here's the difference. So we're going to be using Facebook Live quite likely, maybe Facebook and YouTube. We can talk about how to split that perhaps, but we're going to be using one of those streaming services for our Sunday morning broadcast. But then throughout the week, we're going to be using Zoom for small group discussions, for prayer times, certain mornings throughout the week. We're gonna be doing Sunday school classes over Zoom. We've got counseling, staff meetings, pastors meetings over Zoom. So those are really great forums for that. But the Sunday morning service can be a little tricky over Zoom, but you can do it. I am seeing there are a lot of comments on the broader interwebs that Zoom is struggling with the amount of bandwidth that's coming their way. So just something to be concerned or be aware of if you're going to opt for Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. And by way of reminder, I think their free platform has a 40-minute max limit for over 10 participants. Another question that's come up a lot in the question box here today is about CCLI. So licensing music, what are the restrictions on broadcasting portion of your service? Do we need a different license? And or should we just restrict it to the sermon time and no music? How do we handle that?
Okay, so trying to keep you out of any legal trouble and try to keep you from getting your stream booted off of Facebook or YouTube. Okay, so
Yeah, and keeping in mind that, of course, we're not attorneys and we don't offer legal advice, but yes.
yeah, yes, important caveat. But yeah, just as from a lay standpoint on that, never ever ever play audio that's from a recording artist. That if YouTube and Facebook have algorithms that are watching for that, as soon as that happens, they'll just cut your stream entirely and you're done. So don't do that. But you can stream music without a CCLI license that is out of copyright. So do your research. You could do some older hymns and things like that and perform those yourself, not streaming a performer, maybe your own guitarist or whatever could play something, and people can sing along in their homes. That is possible. You can, through CCLI, obtain what's called a streaming license add-on. So if you already are paying, I think for our church, it's about $300 a year, I think, for a CCLI license. And then tacking on, I think it's about $100 a year to be able to stream music. If that's something that you want to be able to do, that's a viable way to do it. You can what some churches I'm seeing are doing are sending out either a Spotify playlist or a list of YouTube videos or something like that, where people can listen to some selected curated songs and sing along, as individually, or just use that as kind of to meditate on after the message is over. So that's kind of some ways to approach that, and just thinking about, what is it like to have the music leader playing music over the feed? How is that going to come across? Is that helpful? Is that awkward? What is that like? So just think through those things. Other kind of two things to bear in mind on the kind of legal front is never ever ever show children on a live stream without parental consent, and even then probably not a good idea. YouTube's particularly cracking down on anything like that, so keep the kids away from the camera. Never show people who are victims of abuse or in some kind of spousal danger or something like that. Just if you're doing like a testimony reel or something on Facebook, like just keep those simple things in mind, and be smart with that.
Great, thanks, Phil. Next question is, can you live stream on Facebook and YouTube at the same time? And this is coming from Kenny.
All right, Kenny, you're asking the question everybody likes to ask. Yes, you will need a little bit of tech savvy, and you'll need a particular piece of software. I'm gonna go ahead and show this to you. Let's drag this in here. So let me. There we go. Give me just a second. Okay. So this is called OBS Studio, and I can fill this with basically different video and audio streams. Let me kill this here for a second.
And so is this piece of software you're showing us right now something free that we can get?
Yes. So if you go to obsstudio.com, sorry, my screen seems to be a little locked here. Okay, well, we'll roll with that. Anyway, so you can take that and you can feed into that your video, and you can cut between. I've got a lower third on there with my name, and the top part would be the video. I can cut between that and different scenes where if I have different cameras or just one camera, I can toggle that with keypad and so on. But yeah, it's a free download. It's real easy. You just add these sources in this pane, and in that pane you're pulling in. So you can pull in your webcam, you can pull in your audio device and everything like that. And so it creates what you see is what you get, basically. And then once you're ready and happy with it, you go into the settings and you paste in the stream key. Now, you have to, by the native setup of OBS Studio, you can only pick one or the other. You can only pick Facebook or YouTube or other streaming services. So you have to, if you want to do two at the same time, you need to get a subscription to something called Restream. Restream.io is probably the cheapest bet on this. You can do, let me see, I think they are, it's $19 a month if you do monthly, which might be smart, just given we don't know when this is going to end. You can do a yearly subscription for, I think, $190, something along that line. And so what Restream does is it gives you a different stream key that you can paste into OBS. And then you go into Restream and you say, I want to go to Facebook and I want to go to YouTube. And then you handle all your comments. It brings all the comments into that one place, and you can handle everything within Restream in terms of the social engagement. And then you're over in OBS Studio for the camera switching or anything else that you want to do, or just leaving it up. OBS gives you the ability, I can have a slide deck that can appear wherever I want. If I want it in the corner, if I want it to toggle into a full screen display of my slide deck, any of those kinds of options. So that's another possibility for you.
Great, thanks so much. And we'll move on to the next question now. By the way, if you're on this call, we're going to be sharing with you Phil's an article that he's written that's tremendously helpful. It's going to summarize a lot of what he's telling you today. We're also going to be sharing with you the recorded version of this webinar. So if you've got friends who weren't able to make it, other pastors in your area, you're going to be able to get that to them. So watch your email inbox in the later hours this afternoon for that more extra information. Next question here is, what kind of bandwidth does it take to live stream? That's coming from David. And a lot of folks are wondering, speaking of bandwidth, how is that going to be affected? Are the services, and I know we can't tell the future, but are services like these streaming services we're discussing today going to be overwhelmed as people try to use them more and more?
So a good test of the bandwidth is, are you able to do what we're doing right now? Are you able to view YouTube videos just fine? If that's the case, then you're probably going to be just fine casting a live video across that same Wi-Fi network. Or if you can go wired, where you're actually, if you're on your computer and doing live, actually plug in an Ethernet cable to your device, that gives you a lot more stability throughout, less likelihood of things getting dropped. So it's going to produce a better quality stream. In terms of projecting down the road, yeah, it's going to be tough to say. I know anecdotally on Sunday there's a platform that's specifically targeted to churches that a lot of churches use for their live streaming or for video uploading, that just went down at around 9-10 o'clock or so. And so they're scrambling to get more servers, more ability to handle what's getting thrown at them. And that's again why I try to steer people toward kind of the big names of YouTube and Facebook. I know we've got issues with privacy and questions, all sorts of stuff that we deal with those guys, but they tend to be far more stable and tend to be far more reliable even than like Zoom, who's just getting crushed right now with classes that are going online only. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Your big names are going to be able to handle it better.
Great. So next question about Facebook, and we're probably going to take 2 or 3 more questions, by the way, and then wrap up here in a bit. But next question is about Facebook. What about people who aren't on Facebook? Will they have access to my live videos? And how do we get that link up or maybe embedded in our website?
Yeah, so yes, they can access a Facebook live video. The way that you can do that is so you can before you go live, you can copy out that embed code. We looked at that. Let me grab that screenshot real quick. Sorry.
And while Phil's looking to that, I want to encourage everybody to go to sendnetwork.com for more resources like what Phil's sharing today, as we have a time here that's really unusual and we're trying to help churches out. Sendnetwork.com and NAM.net from the North American Mission Board are going to be great homes for you to find resources for your churches and for you as you work through this time together. And then, of course, also watch your inbox for an email later this afternoon recapping today's call and sharing more resources from Phil. Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, so I don't know if you can see the screen here. Yeah, so here, before you even start your stream, before you even go live, you got this little embed code right here. You can copy that out. It even tells you, copy and paste this code into your website. So you can copy that out, go to your WordPress, and typically it has a toggle between what it calls visual editor and text editor. So if you toggle into the text editor, it gives you all the gibberish of the HTML and everything like that. And wherever you want, just create a new line, paste that code in, hit update, and boom, yeah, that video will be embedded. It tends to behave a little awkwardly in mobile devices, but it'll do the trick. So that's the embed code. You can once the video goes out. So this is where it does help if you have a second device. So you're casting from your phone, for example, and you've got your laptop or tablet kind of beside you. You can then go onto that tablet and you can navigate to the video, and you can copy a link, URL from that video, whether either from the browser or from the Facebook app, and then you can share that link out with your congregation. This is one place where YouTube is a little stronger because you do get a link that you can then share out a little bit easier. Another factor is you can even schedule the live videos ahead of time, and that spawns a link and people can sign up for that, and you can more easily steer people to that. But there are a couple things with scheduled videos. You just want to be aware that it can be tricky because you'll basically be in the stream. You'll have the video kind of casting out to Facebook, and it'll basically just kind of count down and bring you in at the time that you have scheduled. So just be thoughtful, mindful about that, and maybe just try that on for a midweek devotional of some type, and see if you like how the scheduling behavior works. It's very similar to what we just looked at with going live manually. I don't know
Great.
if that hit all the points there, but
that's great, Phil. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody today for joining. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. We know that there are a lot of questions that we couldn't get to, so we hope that those will be answered in some of the resources that we'll send out later this afternoon, and resources that you can find in the coming days at NAM.net. That's NAMB.net for North American Mission Board. Also sendnetwork.com, which is the church planting arm of North American Mission Board. Phil Thompson, thanks so much for doing this today for us. Thanks for sharing these incredible resources with pastors around the nation. Thank you all for joining us today. Please, of course, keep up with your local authorities, the CDC. We're all in this together. We're thankful for your hard work as pastors all across the United States and North America. So we know it's hard. We're in this together. Phil, thanks so much. Everybody have a great and safe day.
Thank you.